Welcome to Minneapolis. This is the home of the skyways, an interconnected network of 9.5 miles of bridges and tunnels that are climate controlled and link our city center together. But step inside these things today, these places sit there mostly empty, an incredible asset waiting for an opportunity. Skyways were created as a moat against the rising threat of shopping malls like Southdale, the first ever shopping mall in the world just outside of Minneapolis in Edina, Minnesota. There's a shot across the bow at once great giants like Donaldson's, Young and Quinlan, and Dayton's right over there. You see, back then, the logic was simple. Keep people shopping downtown by giving them warm, interconnected skyways connecting all of our downtown buildings. With the dawn of the internet age, the shopping constituency was lost to the downtown skyways. There are two legs for the skyways to stand on: shoppers and office workers. With shoppers gone, it only took a pandemic to deeply change the futures of the skyways. And there's little hope of this place returning to normal. Look at this building behind me right here. This sold in 2016 for $200 million, but just sold again a few months ago for $6 million. $6 million! Can you believe that? There are houses in Minnetonka that sell for more than that 30-story office building did. It is a warning shot to all of us for the danger that downtown is in, and it's skyways as a direct result of it. And yet, the solution seems to be to wait for people to come back to the office and to pressure local businesses to issue return-to-work mandates that are deeply unpopular with the general populace. I'm someone who gives walking tours for a living, and I have seen firsthand that when interstate and international guests arrive to our city, the demand for these skyways is real. They want to see these places, and yet this is what they are greeted with. It's really made me start to think, are there other cities that have a similar novel asset that was underutilized, that was able to turn it around and make it into an incredible part of their city? And that's where I want to introduce you to Melbourne, Australia. I lived in Melbourne, Australia for 6 years. In fact, I even built a business around its laneways. Some definitions for you. Laneways are what we would call alleyways, and they came out of the function of Melbourne's city plan. Robert Hoddle was the planner for the city, and he wanted to have a big imperial city reflective of the British Empire that founded it. And so when he made it, he had these massive city blocks, 99-foot streets from end to end, and not a lot of livable streets for things like deliveries or trash being taken out. He didn't envision laneways to be created, but that's exactly what happened. What happened is that people just made their own streets, and those streets got to be not very desirable parts of Melbourne. Fast forward to the 1980s, the city is struggling with people leaving the city, heading to the suburbs, and they need to get residents back into the city center. They looked at their laneways and realized, hey, we have a disused asset right here in our city. Let's make use of it. And so they embarked on a bold public plan. They started to market the laneways as the new cultural center of Australia. That spot right there that now says Bar Carlo, that was the spot of the first laneway bar that was allowed to be opened because of a liberalization of policies set in place by the city government. Suddenly, small business owners could open small bars and not have to serve food at them, an onerous requirement that kept these spaces from being fully utilized. Now, the city isn't filled with all back laneways like this. It has massive boulevards, but the key thing that happened here is the city recognized that they needed to use this disused asset. Small businesses were able to get cheaper rents because these disused areas weren't very attractive for people, and so they accessed those lower rents, and before you knew it, Melbourne became this hub of activity. Nowadays, Melbourne is synonymous with laneway culture, with people flocking to it as a destination. Melbourne proudly declared itself as the center of arts, culture, food, and life in Australia. We're at the Bell Museum at the University of Minnesota's campus. This is an incredible museum, you guys, about the natural world. They have amazing dioramas upstairs, but right now we are here for the star party. It's nearly 11 o'clock at night where people are checking out the telescopes, the night sky, and the incredible planetarium right over here. The Bell Museum really embraces the diorama, and the diorama is something that was a really important way for people to understand the natural world back in the time when cheap flights weren't allowing us to go everywhere. Look at these things. It looks like we are in nature. Some of these taxidermy animals are decades old, even into early in the last century. Look at this one over here. Those backdrops were originally painted at a different site, and when this building opened, they had to cut out the wall to allow these beautiful works of art to be transported over here. And my gosh, what an incredible way to experience the natural world from the comfort of a climate-controlled museum. So we have this big, beautiful telescope out here to look at the night sky, but the clouds are all here. So Elsa, you usually are out here looking at the stars when it's not a night like tonight. What do you show people?
If we have the moon, we definitely look at the moon because that's a really good one. You can see multiple different magnitudes up close on craters or the full thing. Sometimes we get planets.
What are people's reactions when they see these things?
Usually it's a, whoa, I didn't know, like, what am I looking at kind of a thing. So it's really cool to see their awe of, we wouldn't normally get to see the moon up that close.
So as Elsa said, we can't see the stars out here tonight, so we're gonna actually head inside to the planetarium because this is one of the only places you can come to a star party where there's a guaranteed chance of star sightings. Let's head to the planetarium now. So there you have it. The Bell Museum is open Wednesdays through Sundays and with special events like the Star Party throughout the year. Back here in Minneapolis, our skyways represent the same untapped potential as Melbourne's laneways did in the early 90s. There's clearly a demand to access these places, but getting access to it can be difficult. Behind me there is the hours sign for this skyway. This one connected over to US Bank Stadium is one of the only ones that's open on the weekend. The vast majority of Minneapolis' skyways are closed at evenings and weekends when tourists can use them. In fact, when you look at this map, you have this section here and this section here that are open on weekends. Pretty much everything in between closes. What a missed opportunity. What can we do to access this amazing resource in the same way that Melbourne did? Thanks. So we've just actually been kicked out of one of the skyways, and that really kind of speaks to the problem with this place. It feels public, it wants to be public, and yet it is not public. You can't just come in here filming stuff or busking. These are private spaces that are privately controlled. And that's one of the things that we have to fix if we're going to fix the skyways. Make these feel more public. Let me just pause and say, I speak from a place of love. I really think that the skyways are an incredible innovation, and they have like a sense of community about them that I think I want to see reclaimed. I want to see part of our city. It's just that we have a little bit of a ways to go to bring them back to their once great glory. But we have to remember the mistakes of the past. Does anyone remember Block E? This massive city-backed development flopped because it was filled with chains and big brands, not the independent businesses that give a city its soul. We already know what works. Just look over at Northeast Minneapolis to the revitalized Grain Belt Arts District, or to North Loop, which is filled with incredible local independent businesses. These places have shown us how vibrant these neighborhoods can become if we just bring some local business ownership into the equation. You see, it's always the makers, the creators, the creative risk takers that make a city what it is. You need these small, independent places to infuse life into an area. Let's fill our skyways with small, independent, local businesses. We don't need another Jimmy John's or Chipotle to get people in here. Now, this is going to take some rule changes. We're going to need to open up the skyways for evenings and weekends, change liquor licenses so we don't need to have a full kitchen in these small little places, and most of all, get people excited to come to downtown once again. It's not enough to just put small businesses in the skyways. We also need to make this a thing that people want to come to, and that entryway to the skyway doesn't really tell you much. Why don't we put big stickers and arrows pointing into every access point for the skyways? That door over there would have one, so would that one, and the whole interconnected network of the downtown area would get people excited to return here once more. We need bold strokes if we're going to fix the downtown Minneapolis problem. Is the inspiration for this a half a world away? It just might be.